Welcome to day 2 of the Pilot Season Actor Summit. It's Emily Grace, acting pros marketing expert and one of your 3 summit hosts. Our first guest of the day is Brian Potaka of Actor Salon. Now, before we get to Brian's interview, I want to remind you to join our Facebook group so you can be part of our daily lives during the summit. Go to facebook.com/groups/gettheaudition, book the job to hear our biggest takeaways from the guests, to connect with us, and to get your questions answered. If you aren't already a member, go over there right now to join us and then come right back here for Brian's talk, The Most Important Thing. Be sure to click the link below to grab Brian's free gift, the Intimate Income Tracking Tool. If thinking about your finances creates overwhelm, disappointment, or fear, make sure you download Brian's simple plug-and-play template to get intimate with your income and friendlier with your finances. Now, let me tell you about Brian Potaka. After quickly climbing the corporate ladder as an advertising executive promoting Broadway shows, Brian realized his true calling was career coaching. In 2001, he started Actor Salon, an accountability group and creative community for actors. Actor Salon empowers creative individuals to get results and has grown to include weekly in-person and virtual meetings in New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. Brian is also a spiritual practitioner in the tradition of A Course in Miracles and will be recognized by the state of California as a reverend by the fall of next year. He travels as an educator and speaker and continues to connect with clients who thrive at the intersection of art and commerce. So welcome, Brian Potaka. It's so exciting to have you here today, and I'm really excited to hear your perspective on acting being a calling and really accepting that soul calling rather than accomplishments being your measure of success. But first, can you tell us a little bit about how did you get here?
Sure. First of all, your invitation was the best part of the whole reason why I got here. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I was an actor in New York City. I went to Northwestern University, trained as an actor. I went to New York. I got to New York. I'll try to make this as brief as possible. I landed in New York. I had an advertising job. I worked in corporate, but all my clients were Broadway shows. So I was like theater adjacent. And then after about 2.5 years, I walked into my boss's office and I said, I can't grow up to be you. I have to leave. And I almost immediately got into a show called The Donkey Show, which ran for 2.5 years in New York, directed by the fabulous Diane Paulus. What? Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's like a Midsummer Night's Dream told through disco songs, like the greatest gig in the world. I did that show for 1.5 years, and I'd go off and do shows out of town and then come back to it. And while I was being backstage with the other actors, I would hear the frustrations they were having in their career and how it was pulling them down. And I had somehow, from my advertising background, just gleaned some awesome marketing tricks and it taught me some stuff about the business of acting. And I would pull them over and say, come sit next to mama, let me tell you what to do. And they would go out and get agents and then get auditions and get more work. And so they suddenly were like, oh, Brian knows what he's talking about. And then I quickly started doing it for a company. I was coaching people as a company on the business, not on acting. And then I went out on my own and I started something called Actor Salon, and I coached people in groups and in one-on-one settings. And then I really realized that, I was into this coaching thing, and I got life coach training. I'm on course to be a reverend right now. It's spiritual, but non-religious spirituality. So
that's that. Yes. And
yeah.
what a great segue into what we're talking about, because I do think, and I'm sure you've seen this too, being an actor and coaching actors, it's so easy to forget that it is a calling and that it is, something bigger than just booking the next co-star or getting that paycheck. So I'd love to hear how you're incorporating spirituality or what you mean when you say this is your calling.
Yeah. And so this is so clear. So even to use that story is I realized one day I didn't want to audition anymore. I kept getting auditions and getting in a bad mood. And so it became very clear that the coaching I was getting in a bad mood because I wanted to be with my clients. Right. And so we get information at some point in our life. I'm sure we all can remember, like, either you're 5 years old or 8 years old or 16 or whatever year. And you're like, oh, acting is the thing for me. And usually in that moment, it's like, yeah, there you go. Right. time and space disappears and you're like, this is it. I want to do this. And that is a spiritual experience. And we are quick in the temporal, earthly world to write that off as like, that's not important. That doesn't mean anything. It's not real. You shouldn't think about that. You shouldn't hear that. You shouldn't listen to that. And to me, that is the truth of how, if you believe in God or you believe in the universe, whichever you believe in, that's how they direct and organize the universe. Because you and I would not be on this call right now if both of us weren't attracted to acting in some way or this creativity in some way. And that's how desire points us to the life we're supposed to have. And how we work toward that desire is going to shape our lives. So, think of Jack Frost. I don't know who I'm trying to, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, right? So the path we're going to take is going to be determined by desire. And to me, that desire is planted in you by the universe. That's your calling, right? That's the way to express it. And so what happens is we get this calling, we get this like intelligence of, oh yeah, I'm meant to be an actor. I'm meant to act, or I think I'm meant to act. That's the information that I understand. And then we like run over to the worldly way of looking at things and say, okay, this is how you be an actor. You go to this school and you get this resume and you get these credits and this is what it looks like to be a successful actor. And we're suddenly completely separated from that spiritual truth we were given in the first place. And if you know anything about spirituality, or even you just think of yourself as spiritual but not religious, this part of you doesn't abandon you when you figure out that you want to be an actor, right? This part says, okay, guys, go figure it out. See you later. You're right. Good luck. So we tend to run over to this earthly place, right? And we get really stuck in, it looks like me booking this job and having this resume and blah, blah, blah. What I think I do with my clients and what I try to work with people on is, how do we stand in the middle where we're able to both hear the universe and listen to what's going on in the world at the same time? I think that even, if you believe in God or the universe, they both would say you need a headshot, right? So great. But now picking the headshot photographer even might look like, okay, this is who people say I need to shoot a headshot with, going down that list, is different than, okay, here are the 3 headshot photographers I'm thinking about. And this is the way I talk about this. I can kind of break this down into money and time, because I think that's what we wrestle with as actors, right? We have usually a limited amount of money because you've decided to be a painter, essentially. Painters don't get paid a lot of money unless you're painting houses. You've decided to be the artistic kind of painter. So you're going to be hanging your pictures in a lot of galleries and hoping somebody buys, right? So this idea around, like, let's say your friend, here's what I think is how this shows up. Your ever helpful friend or an email shows up that says, take this class, here's $100 off. And they call you or they text you. Your friend's like, come take this class with me. It's $100 off. It's an improv class. Let's do this together. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I want to take this class. You sign up for this improv class, right? And then you show up to that improv class and you didn't really think about it, right? So you just said yes, and you show up and you're like, I should be somewhere else. I should be working on something else. Or, oh, it's my turn to go. Oh, okay, I'll go. It's my turn. Okay, great. Okay. And then you're late the next class because you're not as committed to it, right? And then at the end of the class, someone says, how was that class? Like, oh, it was okay. No, the class was bad because you sucked at being in that class. And and here's the difference. So the difference is, let's pretend an opportunity showed itself. Here's the thing that bothers me about this is this platitude we're all sold, which is say yes to everything. And Shonda Rhimes, I love you.
Yes.
This is a different definition of the say yes to everything, which is, I think you should say maybe, and then go connect with the universe to see if it's right for you. So the person shows up and says, here's this acting job. Here's the photographer you should take headshots with. Here's this improv class, whatever. Let's go with the improv class because that's easy. So, hey girl, do you want to take this improv class? It's $100 off. We can take it together. Let's do this. Great. You say, hold up, girl. Give me a second. I need 20 minutes. In that 20 minutes, you go, okay, this improv class is on Wednesday nights. Well, my acting class is on Thursday nights, and TV is my #1 goal. So it's important that I stay in an acting class and I stay working on my craft. I don't want to abandon that just to go do this improv class. But so far that works with my schedule. I could make a Wednesday night class go. Now wait, do I have rehearsal on Wednesday night usually for class on Thursday? No, actually we rehearse on Thursday morning. That will work good. My commitment to my Thursday class isn't going to bail because I've said yes to this other class. Just kind of playing this out, right? Okay, how much does it cost? Oh, it's $200, even with the $100 off. Okay, well, I've got that wedding coming up next month, and mom said she'd help me pay for the flight to go there. Let me call my mom and see if she really is going to help me, because if she's not, maybe I can't say yes. Okay, mom's going to help me out. Great. Financially, it makes sense. Great. So far, time and money we've looked at. Those are the two categories. The third category I want you to look at is energy level. Okay, I usually work on Mondays. I work on Tuesday afternoons. I work on Thursday day. Like you kind of look, okay, energetically, could I show up to that class present and prepared? Yeah, it actually looks like I could. Cool. You've gotten your yes in the temporal, like worldly land, right? The worldly land, right? On the world. I then will say, great, I got my yes over here. Now I want to get quiet for a second. And I call this, in Judaism, they would call this the small, still voice for God. You get quiet for a second, the universe, whatever, and you say, hey, and literally I want to teach something here, which is like, you may call this prayer, you can call it meditation. It doesn't matter. I just want you to use your own language. You have to use the language you heard in some religion to just ask the question of, hey, universe, I think I'm going to take this class. It works out on the worldly level over here. What do you think? And then notice in yourself energetically what you feel. You'll have a feeling. It's like, yes, you should do this, or no, you shouldn't. Or it might say, I don't have an answer yet. Check back later. Those are the three ways that the universe answers you. So then give it a second and then come back, say, hey, I'm getting the sense that I should take this class. Now, in that moment, it's our job to consider that the universe's answer is reasonable. We have a tendency to say, oh, you don't think I should take it? But I really think I should. Like you get this gut hit, oh, I shouldn't take this class. Oh, but we fight, right? We fight with the universe. Now, would you fight with the voice that said be an actor? No, and it's the same voice. So we have to really kind of let it say yes to that, right?
I love it. I love it.
Great. All right. So great. So you get this yes on this spiritual level. You have the yes on the worldly level. And then you go to your friend and say, yes, I would love to take that class with you. Now you might not be able, the thing about your friend or that email coming in is your friend is at Starbucks. They just got the email. They're living their life. They're having their own energy. You have to find that stillness for a second to be able to hear. So be willing to let the opportunity go. The opportunity that might be disguised as, or a distraction disguised as an opportunity.
Yes.
Right? Willing to let it go until you can get that quiet time. Because here's the difference. Let's say you gave an immediate yes. Yes, I'll do it with you. Okay? Or you went through this process. How differently do you show up at that class having given the yes in this way versus the way you did it the other way? You're even if the money part worked out, there's a different way you show up. You're like, hey, what's going on? I'm so happy to be here. Like you show up present to that teacher, to the learning, to the person next to you. Now suddenly the universe gets to work with connecting you with the right people in that room because you're actually present in that room and you're actually going to get the learning from that class.
Yes.
So
I have to jump in here about something that you said about a distraction disguised as an opportunity, because I think, and also this idea you were saying about you don't have to say yes to everything, because I think that is a very actor-like experience of I have to say yes to everything. I have to work for free. I have to get experience wherever I can. And then you end up really just wearing yourself thin and feeling very busy, but sometimes being busy is not the same as being productive.
Yeah, I would much rather see it. I love the way you said that, because I would much rather see an actor who feels less busy, but feels more in their art, right? So let's say you said no to that project your friends were doing. They're doing some web series, but you said yes to 3 more rehearsals for class, or spending more time with that script, or working on that project you've been trying to write for 2 years, right? So this is you being more in your artist self. So your artist self is the one that was given that intelligence from the universe. So driving from there is a lot different from, I need to book a co-star.
Yes.
Right? And I often think that I need to book a co-star goal is BS. And let me tell you how my BS meter goes off.
Okay.
All right. So an actor said, I just want to book TV. Okay. Now, I'm willing to believe you that you just want to book TV if inside it is, I've never had that experience before. I just want to be on a set. I want to have that. I have to go to my little trailer. I get, just a few minutes on set and it because I've just never done that before. And like, I have that kind of heebie-jeebies around it, right? That kind of excitement, right? Different than I want to book a co-star so I can get a guest star so I can get a series regular. So buying into the story of how it's supposed to go.
Yes. Or my agent said I have to book this TV credit first before I can fill in the blank.
Right.
And then it's someone else's goal.
Yeah. And here's the truth. And I'm going to use Columbus as an example. I know there's a lot of feelings to be had about Columbus, but I agree with that. But just saying, you know, Columbus was headed for the West Indies and he stumbled upon something, a much greater treasure, right? So if we can kind of think of, if you actually want to be booking a guest star, like, cause you like, I'm ready to play that arc of a character. That's what I'm working on in class right now. That's the presence that I have in my life right now. That's where I am. You can set your North Star as a guest star. And I promise you along the way, you might land on a co-star. But it is going to be so much more sustenance in the guest star goal that's going to feed you and nurture you along the way than I'm booking this co-star so that I can book a guest star because my agent said so. So make your agent happy. Say, yep, totally, 100%. Going to book that co-star so we can get on to the next thing, whatever you say, dude. And then you go home and say, great, my goal is a guest star because I know I'll get there on the way. So it's important that that's where that personal conversation comes, right? Because there's a lot of us, I think actors are searching, we're often searching for validation or confirmation that we're doing the right thing. And I want to be real clear, wait, disclaimer, I'm not an actor anymore. Please go look at my languishing IMDb page. I want to make sure that that's very clear to everyone. I'm not pursuing acting whatsoever. So we're looking for certainty that that voice that said, be an actor was true. And that's why when we hear a yes, it's so easy. Well, I better say yes, because this is one way of me saying yes to that voice that was true. Now that voice didn't say, be an actor and then say yes to everything. It said be an actor, which means you have to keep honing yourself into what does being an actor mean to you. And I think that's where we can get into a very like, oh, that girl in my class booked this and this person booked that. And like we get into those comparison stories, which can throw us off our game, which is very different, as I'm sure, as you know, in an acting class where you're comparing, like I should be there, which is not an acting class thought,
right?
Versus, oh, the way she did that scene was really interesting. I wonder if there's something from that I can steal. Like, I like the way that worked for her. How can I make that part of the way I do it? Or that I could never do it. The way it looks on her is the way it should look on her. The way it should look on me. I think what I'm learning is, to me, it looks a little bit like you're learning from the way that someone has booked it or done it or whatever. You're not coveting it, right? It would be like Van Gogh going to an art show and saying, like, I wish my paintings looked like that. I should start painting like that. You don't want to paint him to paint. If you wanted Van Gogh to paint like that, we never would have had Van Gogh, right? We want
if
to
only I could be Monet.
Right. We want to see your brushstroke, right? So that the comparison can be around how did they paint the scene, but the comparison around like, did they book that job is not part of the conversation. And I think, and you might be able to speak to this too, is like, acting class isn't about being, or booking a job is not being about the best actor. Booking a job is like, this person did it yellow, this person did it blue, they did it pink, they did it green. We want the blue version of this story, the way they looked on her, right? So in acting class, it is a job, it is about us getting a technique, right? It is about us getting better at a technique. And then when we go to the audition, it's like, throw out your homework and give a great performance, right? So I think that is a confusing place for a lot of people as well. That makes sense.
Yes. And I like what you said about, you know, really getting clear about what being an actor means to you, because success for one actor might not feel like success or fulfilling success to another actor. And there's this wide umbrella of acting or acting success, which could mean someone who only books national commercials, or someone who creates, writes, directs, stars in their own content, whereas someone else just wants to do action films. Or, you know, it is a very wide range of what success means. And I love what you're saying about getting into that quiet space and really listening from that spiritual place of what that really means to you, because that will affect all the decisions that you make.
And what you just said is so powerful there, because it affects all the decisions that you make. And I think we are very quick to hand over that power and not realizing that we're doing it so easily. Like, even so much as like, I'm not going home for Christmas because I want to be here for every audition my agent can possibly get for me. And then we don't go to a wedding, and then we don't see our family. And suddenly our life has been shaped by the audition that never came.
Yes.
And that is we're talking about our life. It's now, it's not tomorrow. Now is your life. The thing that you're not going to be you're not going to be on your deathbed and say, I wish I would have stayed home for more Christmases.
No.
In LA for more Christmases, right? So yeah, right. So we have to be mindful around who we're becoming through this. That's actually the truth. What you talked about is a way of becoming in many ways, who we're becoming through this process. And what acting is, that's so interesting. So I was with a client this morning, and she was talking about this very new client. She said, I just want to make my living from acting, which I think is a very dangerous goal. Because, okay, great. What does acting mean then? So is it commercials, voiceover, print, musical theater, TV, film? Are those all count? Yeah, they all count. Okay, great. So what's our North Star? Is it the entire Milky Way galaxy then? Or is it a bank account? And then if we're talking about bank account, how much money is it? Oh, it should be over $100,000. Do you make $100,000 now? Okay, well, are you making your living now? Great. So how much actually is making your living as an actor? So it literally becomes one on top of the other, become piled into like this world that is not even, doesn't feel real anymore, right? There are plenty of actors that are, and I'm going to pause. I think one of the difficulties is this, is when we're kids, we see famous actors as the model for what it means to be an actor. And we rarely get to see, even now when we're in LA, sometimes we don't get to see who's an actor who makes their living as an actor and isn't famous, I put in quotes, right? How do they make their living? And almost every actor I know, even my series regulars, sometimes have other jobs. They have other interests. They want to do other things besides that, you know? Or they might want to, or maybe they're like working on a project or working on a film or something on their own that they're writing, you know, they're an artist. So they're stepping into their artist self maybe, right? So plenty of successful, I put in quotes, actors are people who have more than the acting job, right? And so for me, when we define acting success as dollars and cents, I think we tread into a very, very dangerous zone. And I'm going to go back to Van Gogh because he's my favorite, you know, if he was painting, it's as if Van Gogh was like, I'm going to paint this painting because I know this painting will be hung on this gallery and I'll get $10,000 for it. So that's why I'm painting this painting. No, he was sitting in the field till he got the brush out exactly how he wants it to look. That's why we go back to acting class again and again, because we want to be able to play that kind of part. We want to be able to bring, you know, I'm not bringing my sexuality into these roles lately. I want to bring my sexuality, or I want to bring my intelligence. I'm playing these people dumb. I want to play the top of my intelligence here. So we're working on that in the craft. That's why class is just so important to being an actor, especially because you can't pin all of that function given to you by the universe on the random audition that comes from time to time. You'll be a very miserable person, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
now, what you were saying earlier, it was a point I wanted to sort of underline, which was, you know, we have this spiritual calling, whatever that might mean to you specifically, of how that's going to be delivered through your acting. But also there is this business side of it. You were talking about, you know, say, sure, agent, I'll go for that co-star, but what I'm really going for is something bigger.
Yeah.
And so, you know, because there is the spiritual part of being an artist, but there is that business side as well that we have to contribute, be part of, participate in. And so what would you suggest in terms of finding that balance between your calling and the reality of being in the entertainment industry as a business?
Sure. I appreciate that question. It's really well worded. So one of the things I would say is make sure you have some good models around you or some good mentors around you who are willing to have both of those conversations at the same time. And typically your friends are not the people, unless you got a real evolved group of friends, right? Sometimes they are, but it's hard when you're talking to other actors sometimes to stay out of that electrified zone of comparison. And unless you can really have a really good heart-centered place with a good friend who, when you fall down, they love you. When you rise up, they love you, right? To balance the two, that kind of process that I went through earlier, that's one of the ways I think is an actual practical way to live in the balance of the two. The other is we have to know that one of the things they say in A Course in Miracles, which is one of the books that I have in my spirituality, which is be determined each day not to leave your function unfulfilled. So if your function, right? I'll say it again, be determined each day not to leave your function unfulfilled. So if you identify one of your functions as acting, right, while you're here, the amount of time you're not acting is going to impact the way your spirit moves through the world. So the ability for you to take care of that part of you, right? So you're in an acting class, you're in rehearsals, and then look at the business is really important, because a lot of actors come from the other direction. Like, how am I going to get in an acting class, which is going to help me get the job and help me and they're just focused on the end game. So they don't have that creative function in the class, right? Every single person in your acting class cannot book a job the exact same week. I mean, I hope that happens, but the truth is one person's going to book this week, 3 people that week, 4 people that week, 5 this week, 2 this week. Like it's the, there's a rhythm to it, right? So if we pin on acting class booking every single class, it's not going to give us this space to fulfill our function, right? So that's your function, acting. What your function isn't to do is to run a business. So we need to be really mindful around when we are tiptoeing gently into the mindful space of looking at this as a business. We need to know it's going to feel a little funky. It's not going to feel as aligned. It's going to feel like a little bit more drudgery. It's going to maybe feel a little harder to be consistent. I think a lot of actors complain about consistency or scatter or overwhelm, of course, because you get this hit of inspiration of, I'm going to work on my acting career. And then you kind of forget about it for a few months because that took a lot out of you. And then you come back to it and you're going to be like, because the place where you get your sustenance is in the acting class or is in acting. So we need to have that sustenance so we can stay consistent in it. And then the other thing about this is, by knowing that, a lot of my clients will talk about having a mindful practice around like, okay, when I'm going to work on my acting career, I light this candle so that I know I'm going into this place where I tend to be neurotic and weird because it's not my acting craft. So I'm associating a behavior to a mindful thought. So I'm lighting the candle because there's behavior and thought process at the same time. When the candle burns down, I'm done working, or I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. So tiptoeing into the pool of possibility around acting on your or working on your acting career is important, that you have that mindful piece around it. Again, to me, that's I think one way to bring the balance to it. And the other is you got to listen to your agent. I mean, I think one of the number one rules I say to people is you do whatever your agent or manager says. I mean, unless it's not appropriate. You jump to it. You jump to it. You are a great client. So when you're a great client, then you get to ask questions. Then you get to confront, for lack of a better word, like ask the question. So I think you need to be able to say, yeah, I've seen my agent every 3 months. I am in contact with them on a weekly or biweekly basis. They are happy with my headshots. They are happy with my reel. They have everything they need. And then I get to say, hey, what's up with my audition rate? But until you're that client, your side of the street is not clean. And when I say that, if you're watching this, actors, I can feel all kinds of fear tingling around, even though you might not, as I'm saying this, it's a different time that you're watching it, right? But so be sure you're acting first. Yeah, I got to take care of that stuff that Brian talked about on that webinar, but I got to make sure that I'm doing my acting class. I'm showing up to acting, and I'm showing up to acting in my career, right? And then I can go, okay, great. I haven't seen my agent. I had a client today say, I haven't seen him since last Christmas. Not this year. The one before, I was like, unacceptable.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I was like, what do you look like? Who are you? Like, I mean, like, so if we want to be treated like a human being with our representation, we have to be a human being. So we tend to put them on that pedestal again because they're the ones giving us validation for making the correct choice about our lives. And that's they didn't ask to be put there. That's a real shitty place for you to put them.
Yeah. And also they get all the blame when they don't.
Oh my God. When's the last time you've ever talked to an actor who said, I'm getting exactly the right amount of auditions for my representation? No one will ever say that. That should say something about us, not them. At that point.
Yes.
Right? The creative people.
And I think, when you are very clear about what acting means to you, when you are connected to that aspect of it and not the, how do I fill up my time and be productive and do all these things, I think you are more aligned with finding the agent that is on board with where you're going as well.
Oh,
it can be such a fear place of I just need to sign with an agent, whoever will take me. Please take me.
Gross, right? It's like dating or something.
Yes.
Would you get married in that point of view? Probably not, right? I just had a client who just left right before this call for our time together, and she's having a manager meeting. And in the conversation, I was like, whoa, we need to make sure that you can like get a vibe from this person. Like, check the energy of how you feel here. Yes, but part of the truth is like, we need to take care of ourselves so we show up and, I put in quotes, sell ourselves well. And I don't even like that word. What I would mean you want to do is make sure that the fullness of you is showing up. What I think we tend to do is we make a manager or an agent a bouncer, and we say, can you show me I belong in this club? Let me show you my ID. And I'm going to show you my ID by looking at my resume and telling you why I deserve to be in this room. And can I go in? Can I please go in? And we keep that energy in the room. And that manager agent never asked for you to do that. And they're going to then fall into this zone of like, oh, I guess I'm a bouncer and I have to treat them like this. And suddenly you've taken the two of you to hell. Anxiety, I think, is hell, right? So you've taken yourselves to hell. You grab the manager by the hand and said, let's all go over here to hell. I'm going to treat you like a bouncer. And then I'm going to try to work my way out of it to be a normal person by the end of this meeting. And I don't know who you are, but I don't have the spiritual perspicacity to do that. I'm not enlightened enough to do that. So I think it's really important that we go for a meeting. I have two things that I say to clients is, sit in your car for 5 minutes. Get there nice and early, obviously. Sit in your car for 5 minutes and blast that person with love. Just imagine, like, my first function on the planet is to love other people and to be kind. I'm just going to send them love. I mean this in the most non-sexual, romantic way. Just make sure we're all very clear on that, right?
Clarifying. I didn't think so, but
just in case, right? And you will never tell them that you did this, right? And then you just send them that love. And then when you show up in that room, you're so much more able to be you. And what you want this person to see is the you, because if they're going to be selling you on the phone or marketing you, if you were this weirdo treating them like a bouncer for 45 minutes, if the meeting even got to be that long, right? Then how are they going to sell you? And then you've had a whole year of a shitty manager where actually you just had a shitty meeting where you never saw them again and were never yourself again, right? And so it seems like it's a mystery how this happened. No, it's very clear how it happens. We don't show up in our fullness. They can't reflect it back, and then they don't get to see who you are. So, blast them with love. And then also I think it's important to know your answers to the questions, what casting directors know you? What types do you go out for? What do you do for classes and stuff? Have you taken an improv class? Where do you go to school? What do you do for a job so they know you're flexible? I think all those questions are part of what they're going to ask you. So preparing those answers, I think, in a way that is digestible to the manager agent, like going through a process of preparing for that meeting is important because they want to hear it in a soundbite so that they can then on the phone say what you said to them. So they know how to use that languaging. So you have to be able to give it to them in an intelligible way. And if you're in the like, please let me in the club zone, you're going to sound like an idiot. And you're not going to be able to deliver what you know is true about yourself as an artist, that truth you were given in the first place. So in that meeting, I think a lot of people end up leaning on their passion for acting as an answer to getting representation. And you can want it all you want. I need to know I can book you a job. And right now you kind of look like a person who's really starving for attention. So I realize this isn't like an easy process, but what I'm saying is we have so much, the spiritual mountaintop is to look at yourself first, not them. That isn't to say there aren't managers and agents out there who won't give a shitty meeting. But this is to say, if we really want to take care of ourselves, we want to do the work on ourselves first before we get there,
Yes. And I like what you teach because it is a bringing together of two different aspects. Like as a creative person, you need to nurture that, but you also need to be intelligent about the business that you're in and be able to speak the same language as the people who are representing you.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to send you out for auditions, I better know what 10 actors or actresses you could replace on television right now. Like that to me is an assignment I give all my actors. Like you need to make a list 10, and the number 10 is high on purpose. It's a double digit, the first double digit we have, because I need you to find who are the 10 actors that if they disappeared tomorrow, aliens sucked them away and they needed someone to replace them, who would they be? And you may not use all 10 of those actors in that meeting, but you need them so you can gear your headshots, your resume, your reel toward us seeing you as that, right? And so when you go in the meeting, I think it's really important for you to have a few actors that you can mention, because that just roots us in some kind of reality of what kind of actor you are. It doesn't pigeonhole you. It just lets us know, okay, I can get it a little bit more. I want to make sure that when we think about our branding, I hate that word, but our essence, right? It doesn't have to be an artistic prison. It should feel like a launching pad, right? So that's why I say 10, so it's got a little breath to it. And if you are, a 50-year-old woman, you're probably not playing a high schooler. Like we can start with that very easy place to kind of use your age range and stuff. But I'm also okay with you saying like, I'm not the exact same type as that character, but I would play that type of character. That's another great way to talk about your type. I see a lot of actors get sucked down this rabbit hole. I got to figure out my type. I got to figure out my type. And they're, you know, asking their barista and other people in class, and it's not necessarily getting them anywhere. Make a list of 10 actors. It's a great way to start. You can use those 10 actors to decide, you know, what should my headshots look like, because this is what they were on that TV show, or this is what my scenes should be like, because that's the kind of scene they were in on that TV show. So it becomes a lot simpler once you look at the prototypes that are out there in the world. And then you can, you know, you can blow the top off that and play something completely different. That is a great starting point. Yeah.
We've covered so much in a very short amount of time.
Yay! I talk fast. Hope I wasn't too fast.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you think is important, or anything you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
With you all day, Emily. I love talking about this. This is like this is my favorite thing to talk about. Can you tell? Here's the thing that I'll say is, it would be selfish. I'm talking to you actors out there. It would be selfish for you not to pursue acting. You have been given this calling. It is a calling that will affect the lives of your parents, your boyfriend, girlfriend, soon to be boyfriend, girlfriend, your friends, your family, your roommate. It will be the guiding force which lets you meet people. It will be the guiding force why you shoot with that headshot photographer, who you then up at that retouchers, and you stopped at that Starbucks because it was on the way. That is how it guides you towards your unfolding in this lifetime. So to treat it with that reverence is your duty. And there's a responsibility in that. So be kind to yourself, first and foremost. And we talk about self-care kind of glibly lately. I think it kind of gets like a take a bubble bath or get a mani-pedi. And to me, self-care are the daily behaviors that you take to keep yourself away from anxiety, depression, overwhelm, and fatigue. Those four things are what you look for. If you have any of that in your life, then we take care of that first. Because you have a job to do, you have an artist to be. So if that means making sure that there's this much in your bank account so you can afford acting class every single month so you can be consistent, then change the job. If that means finding a living situation where the roommate isn't taking down your energy, find a new living situation. If it means that you need to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I want to say this from a non-like, I'm your dad point of view, but from a how great is your responsibility to the world. And you're an artist. In Los Angeles, particularly if you're there, we can feel commerce a lot around our creativity. And commerce is where art gets to be on a bigger stage. It gets to have a bigger impact. So if we keep it in that thinking instead of in the dollar sign thinking, it allows you to know how profound the impact you can have there is. And artists are the ones who change the world. They always come first. We're the Cassandras, right? So, so right now in 2019, we really need you. So if you've got a story you're aching to tell, or a story you want to see on your body in an acting class or in a piece, please go out there and do it. That's,
yes, please do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian. You shared a ton of really helpful stuff. And we'll see everyone on the next interview in the summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brian, for that great interview, and thank you for listening. Make sure to grab Brian's Intimate Income Tracking Tool freebie by clicking the link below. And here's a quick reminder, if you'd like lifetime access to the summit to keep all these videos and revisit them as often as you'd like, remember to grab your backstage pass. Not only will you get to keep the entire summit forever, you also get access to the VIP bonuses some of our guests have put together just for you. Check out all the extra goodies you're going to get by going to pass.pilotseasonsummit.com, and we'll see you in the next video.